All right. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for being here. Obviously, really happy to be 1-0 in the Eastern Michigan season. But before we get there, just want to acknowledge 9/11, September 11th, 2001. We talked to our team about it yesterday, and we got a chance to visit the memorial when we went out to the Pinstripe Bowl, the New York out there in New York City, and it's incredibly powerful. And we actually talked a little bit. There was a thing on 60 Minutes yesterday. I don't know if you got a chance to see it, but and I shared it with our players at the end of our night practice on the field, brought everybody together, kind of an intimate moment for about 10 minutes. And on 60 Minutes yesterday, they were talking about obviously what happened, but it was more in depth about the actual firefighters and the sergeants and the chiefs that led all of those firefighters. And it was just focused on the firefighters, so it wasn't disrespecting anybody else. It was just this is what it was about. And they had to give the command to go up. And it's a very powerful story because as a leader, this is not life and death. This is football. And they had to give the command to actually go up in the buildings with 75 pounds apiece on their back going up 90 floors. So we kind of did an example of us, and just kind of had a backpack of what 75 pounds feels like, and carrying that 90 floors up, knowing that that's probably the last time you're going to see your family, last time you're going to see your kids, last time you're going to hug your wife. That was the last time that morning to a lot of people and their families. And but then they had the sergeants and the chiefs who gave those orders to go up. They said not one person, not one firefighter asked why. Not one firefighter said no. I mean, what a story. I mean, we look at it and we memorialize it and do all those things, but it's the individual stories of that heroic effort that day of our country and those firefighters and the policemen and women and everybody who were the first responders, and it's just powerful. And so I wanted to make sure I shared that with them because you're constantly giving perspective as a leader. Not to say you have it better than someone else. I don't believe that because I think everybody's own issues are their own issues, and no issues are bigger than somebody else's issues. I'm a firm believer in that with mental health. But I also was, okay, we play a game, and we got a little tired here and there. Okay, and what floor do you stay on in that beautiful new field house? Oh, I stay on floor 4, Coach. Okay. Do you go on the stairs or do you take the elevator? Well, I take the elevator. Oh, for 4 floors? Okay, here's 75 pounds on your back and go 90 to go save people, knowing you're never going to come back. Would you do it? And they all did it for the people that told them to go do it. They did it for those families. They didn't do it in fear of it. And that's leadership at its finest. And that's hard to swallow because there were so many people. 2,997 people were killed that day, approximately, right there. I think that's the right number. And just a really powerful day for us to just remember, how grateful we should be for all the things that we do have. We're not perfect. Our country's not perfect. But we do have a lot to be grateful for. And I'm grateful for this football team. I'm grateful to be the head football coach here. On days like today, it brings that full circle. And I want our teams to be a really grateful football, or a team to be a really grateful football team, and do it for each other. Never do it in fear of each other, but do it for each other. So anyway, I thought I'd start by just starting with 9/11, and obviously being the anniversary of it. We all remember where we were that day. So many thoughts, prayers out there to all those families that lost anyone or knew anyone on that day. So with that, we'll open it for questions.
Transitioning to football, with Darius Taylor earning Freshman of the Week in the Big Ten,
Yeah.
When you look back on his performance, what stood out that was more than just game day?
It's just grit. That's it. I think he had 1 carry in game 1, and then, we always talk, put the ball on the ground, and ball's a program. We can't put the ball on the ground, period, right? So then, Darius got probably way more than he even thought he was going to get, but he earned it. Every rep he ran, he earned more and more and more, and that's what a true freshman does. You don't know what a true freshman can do in a game until he does it. You can watch him in practice. Remember, this kid played wide out in high school. His senior year, he played running back. All right, so he hasn't played running back for a very long time. And what you're watching is, okay, well, what can he do really well? What are some things that he has to continue to get better at? Or some things that have carried over that he's been really he's had to improve since January that are way better now. Some things that are still lingering that are still there. But it gives us a lot more data. But you saw grit, determination, and we were determined to run the football, period. I mean, that was more me than the coordinators. You know, I mean, we probably could have thrown the ball a heck of a lot more than we did for a lot more efficiency than we did. That wasn't the point of that game. We had to instill the run game into our players, instill an attitude and mentality in a football team that's who we are, despite who's in the backfield, period, right? And you have to have that balance. And if the better your players get at quarterback, at wideout, at tight end, and running back, O-line, the better the offense can be and the more balanced you can be. And that's the direction that we have to head, and Darius helped us with that. But he's a great kid. You get a chance to be around him. You had a chance to be around him. You know, I've always had that philosophy of not having freshmen speak to the media. You're probably asking, well, why do I let Darius? In the new NIL world, and these guys have their own podcasts. They have their own TV shows. They have their own YouTube channels. I mean, why wouldn't I? So Paul Rovnak and his staff do a great job educating our young people. They're growing up faster than they ever have. So hopefully you enjoyed, you know, him in the press conference afterwards, because he's a fantastic individual that is very close to his auntie and his grandma, who were very excited about his performance. They were very excited about that, maybe more excited than him, and that's great to see for the people that raised him. But he's a wonderful young man. He just has a long way to go. But what you saw was a snippet of what he can actually become, and you know that's not the only back that has that ability either. We just have to keep developing the others as we keep going through this season, and then also in recruiting.
You mentioned coordinators. With having a new coordinator, kind of new to this, are you on headset more with him, or
No, same. No, I just think it was more like situational stuff. It wasn't like, I'm calling the plays. It was just, okay, nope, I like the call, but it's 2nd and 1. I like what you're calling, but you know what? We got to instill a mentality. Run the football. And I probably interjected more than I have ever, not because of the coordinators at all. They didn't do anything. They weren't doing anything wrong. I had to do something as a head football coach to instill something in that moment, in that game, with the backs we were having and the balls were on the ground. So, game 1, we didn't get enough rushes to do that. You can do it in practice all you want, Chip. You got to be able to do it in a game. So now we have 2 ways that we know how to win. We got to combine those. But again, our coordinator's doing a great job. I mean, that's not that of why I stepped in there. And they agreed with me as we kept going, like we have to. And Greg Harbaugh said that too. We're on the headset and we're talking. He's like, hey, listen, the only way we win this game is we put the ball on the ground, or the only way we lose this game, we put the ball on the ground, or we stop running the football. Simple, right? So, but again, we get the ball inside the 5 3 times. Usually we're all used to Mohamed Ibrahim scoring a touchdown. That's our bread and butter. For 7 years, that's what we're used to, whoever's back there. Well, as a head coach, I still want to be used to that. So I've got to get whoever's back there used to that. And you can't just do it in practice anymore, right? Especially when you're dealing with a true freshman, right? And you had scrimmages, you had all that stuff, but you're still developing him. You got to do it in the game. And that's what we felt like we had to do at Eastern Michigan. We learned from it. There were times we were able to do it, times we weren't. Now we have that data. Now we got to respond to that data and be very transparent with our football team. And I think we've always been that way. I have no problem being transparent and honest with the football team. And we got a lot better yesterday in our team meeting, and we'll keep growing.
PJ, was the run the ball message as much the offensive line as the running backs do?
100%. Yeah, Brandy, absolutely. It was everybody. It's the whole run game. Lemecki Brockington in one of his best games blocking. Absolutely. Because in the Big Ten, you better be able to run the football, period. Everybody has to at some level, right? And that's our MO. Everybody knows that. But that doesn't mean we're running the triple option. It just means that we're going to be different than we used to be just because it's a different team. But the mentality of a team, I never want that to change. And we have a lot of guys in positions that are a little more inexperienced than what we've had in the past. That's what I meant. There's experience and inexperience. Well, I got to get that inexperience that's really talented to have that same mentality as a 5th-year senior or a 7th-year player or somebody who's been in the program for a long time. That's what you're creating.
When it comes to Drake May, what most impresses you?
Everything. I mean, he's as advertised. He's smooth now. I mean, nothing rattles him. He's a great runner. He's a great athlete. He's very accurate. He can do it all. I mean, that's why probably he's the number one quarterback being taken in the draft, they say, coming up. You know, I've only studied him one night, right, a little bit in the offseason, but you talk about a really good player. They build the whole scheme around him. They got a really good running game, which is really helping him as well. So they're very balanced on offense. They're very disciplined on defense, but you know, we've got a tall task going against that type of quarterback, and rightfully so. He seems like a wonderful person, according to Mac. And in the interviews I've watched, I wouldn't expect anything less, but very, very talented in the way he plays the game.
What are the benefits of playing a top 25 team and a quarterback like Drake May this early in the season for you guys?
Well, we're going to get it early and often. All year, I think there's 5 or 6 ranked teams we play, and it doesn't matter when they come at you. It's the next opportunity. You know, we've been ranked before and played other ranked teams. We've been unranked and played ranked teams. We've played unranked teams. It's a next team on your schedule. We know they're very good. We know they're very talented. We know they're very strong, fast, athletic. They're very disciplined. You talk about an incredibly disciplined defense. I think that's a great compliment. It's like when you compliment your children, some of the waitress or waiter comes up to your table and says, "Wow, you have really nice kids." You're like, "Really?" You kind of take that as a compliment as a parent. Like, "Wow, that's great. We must be." It's like talking to a football team when they say they're a really disciplined football team. That's a really good compliment for coaches because you know they're doing above the X's and O's and they're doing above their athleticism. They're sound in what they do. They're listening to the situational football, and they're doing it for each other collectively. And you know, they're as advertised. They're ranked right where they should be, if not a little higher. I mean, they're a really good football team. And you could see the will to win last week. You watch that game and you watch those overtimes. I mean, there's no way that they weren't coming out of there with a victory. They have a winning mentality, you can tell, and that's from Mac all the way down to all their coaches, to their leaders, and probably even the young players. So they're very good.
Do you have much history with Mac Brown? Do you know? Have you
Oh,
had
yeah,
any
no,
interaction?
Mac and I go way back. We do. I can't say way back. I've known Mac for probably about 8 years. Mac has been, he's been a distant mentor, I would say, from a distance. You know, I've called him on a lot of different things. He's helped me through a bunch of stuff. We always see him in different head coaching events. And I still remember when Heather met Mac, and she's like, "How could you not want to play for that guy? If I was a recruit, I'd commit to him on the spot." I'm like, "That's exactly, he's Mac Brown. He just recruited you." And you know, he's just so gracious. He can talk to anybody. He makes everybody feel really important. He's a wonderful man. He's a phenomenal football coach. He's a great connector. He cares about his players, cares about his job. He cares about how the job's done, and he cares for all the right reasons. And he's got 40-plus years of experience doing it. And he's won everywhere he's been. He's the only. I mean, he's won 100 games plus at North Carolina, 100 games plus at Texas. I mean, that's, yeah, you don't hear about that very often. He's one of the greatest college football coaches of all time, but the Mac that I know is one of the best people of all time. And I can't thank him enough for just the wisdom he shared with me over the years. And his wife, Shelly, they've been really, really good to us.
What has to happen for the offense to become more explosive?
Just explosive plays. I mean, and we ran the ball 56 times. Am I correct? I am correct on that, right? I think it was 56 rushes. First time we ran for 56 times since 1970, something like that. Wasn't it the most rushes? Am I right on that? 50? No? Yes?
Double check that. I believe you're right.
Thank you. It's right. They said it's right. You said you have to check. I'm believing them. But think about that, how much we run, right? And we've changed our explosives from 20 yards to 25 yards, okay? So let me kind of unwrap what your question is because it'll bring some sense to it. For us to be able to be really successful this year with our schedule, with this particular football team, we changed our explosive plays from plus 20 plus, to 25 plus. So we upped the bar of what an explosive play means to our offense. Well, we had 5 over 20. So if we went on last year's, we'd say, I'd be in here saying, man, we were pretty explosive. What are you talking about? We ran the ball 56 times, and out of those runs, we had 4 explosive runs. That's good, right? But now we've upped it where we had 0. So when we're talking about explosive plays, it's breaking an extra tackle, right? It's being able to create more separation in the secondary. And we didn't call enough in the way they played it, right? And we got some PI calls. But we just have to be able to be just more efficient when we call those plays. and call more of them to be more explosive. So you design plays and you call plays for them to work and for them to, hey, if you can make that guy miss, it's an explosive. Or, hey, we can catch him in this coverage, it's an explosive. And then a lot of things go into it. The ball placement of the ball, where's the ball placement? Was it an accurate throw? Was it an advanceable, appropriate ball where somebody could take it and run with it? Was it a catch and slide because he had to be able to put it in that position? Were we able to break a tackle? What kind of throw was it? So all those things go into it. But we just have to – explosive plays are going to be critical for any offense, and we just have to be more consistent in what we do.
The offensive line was obviously dominant, but I wanted to talk about two particular performances. One was Tyler Cooper on the trap blocks up the middle, and how Quinn just devastated the right side of their defensive line, especially as the game wore on.
Yeah, I mean, we had some guys up front that were elite playmakers and made the elite club this week for all the right reasons. I thought we were able to, impose our will at the line of scrimmage with all due respect. I think we were able to dominate up front. And they work cohesively as a unit. It's not just one guy, but we're going to play some more guys as we keep going forward. Greg Johnson's earned the right to play, and he's a true freshman. The last true freshman I think we played on the O-line was Daniel Faalele. I mean, that says he's in the National Football League, and Greg's going to have a lot of opportunities here coming up, not just like 4 games in redshirt. I mean, he's going to be a part of that rotation. And then we've got some other guys. J.J. Gaday's done a good job in there, and Carter Shaw, so we can rotate those guys. But we did what we had to do to win that particular football game, and it wasn't as clean as we wanted, right? And we won by 19 points, and it wasn't our best football. But, again, as you look and learn, they're very transparent. They know it, and they know what we need to do as a football team up front. But they were rotating a lot of guys. I mean, they had 8 guys up front. Eastern Michigan did. And they were big. They were twitchy. They were strong. That's a really good D-line at Mid-American Conference play. They're going to be a good football team. I mean, they won 9 games last year, and they're well coached. And, we're their Super Bowl, and they got after it, So I was proud of the response we had. We had a lot of big runs, maybe not 25-yard runs, but there's a lot of big runs that came out 12, 14, 18 yards that were really good for what we were doing and what the game plan was.
Any chance to see Cody this week?
Any
chance we see Cody this week?
Oh, yes, there's definitely a chance. Yeah, I mean, possible, questionable, maybe, ifable.
On the defensive side of the
That's
ball.
not a word, but I know that's not.
Go ahead, last one.
Yeah, on the defensive side of the ball, 4 turnovers in the first week and then allowing only 152 yards in the second week. How are you looking to shut down a dynamic offense in Chapel Hill?
We're going to do everything we can to shut them down. Everything we can, It's hard. I think you slow a defense or you slow an offense like that down. I think it's very, very difficult to stop. You got to slow them down. You got to get them out of rhythm. You got to get them in 3rd and longs. You got to be really efficient on 1st and 2nd down. And you got to be sticky on the outside. I mean, you got to be all over the balls that are in the air and contest a lot of throws. You got to get to the quarterback. You got to make sure he's uncomfortable. And you have to stop the run with North Carolina. Again, they can beat you a lot of ways. They got the number 1 quarterback in the draft coming out. They've got a heck of a running game. They got really good offensive line play, tight end play. So when we say stop it, we have to play our style. We're going to have to make them put a lot of long drives together if they want to score, eliminate explosive plays, and get some takeaways. That's all. That's it. All right. Row the boat, Sky, Mile, go Gophers. Thanks, everybody.